Insomniac's Spider-Man just turned 70 years old, so I decided to 100% Spider-Man 1 and 2 to compare them and determine which one is better. I'm not including the Miles game because it's not a fair comparison, so let's get straight into the video. Story. Spider-Man 1 has a solid, concise, and well-structured story. It has memorable villains, supporting characters who add a lot to the game, and a plot that unfolds naturally, allowing the game to flow and progress smoothly without feeling forced. The villains are great. Even though Mr. Negative's storyline ends quite early and abruptly, the story can continue thanks to the addition of other villains and Doc Ock, who becomes the main antagonist from that point on. Doc Ock's development is excellent. It's natural, progressive, and emotional. He's set up as a strong ally for Peter initially, just like Martin Lee. However, a big issue is that many players already knew where the character's storyline was headed, which isn't necessarily negative as it still was a good plot, but it definitely lessens the impact. The game has great, memorable, and iconic characters like the Sinister Six. It has supporting characters who contribute a lot to the story, like MJ and May and Miles. It has exciting action sequences that are incredible and add thrill to the story. Likewise, the ending is worthy of a Spider-Man story. Doc Ock is defeated by Spider-Man in an emotional climax, and Aunt May dies in a dramatic, emotional scene that made many players cry thanks to how well built it is and its great dialogue. Spider-Man 2 also has a very good plot that unfolds well as we progress through the game. It formally introduces us to Harry and we meet Kraven, one of the two antagonists of the game. Harry's addition makes sense and doesn't feel forced, as he develops naturally and you can easily empathize with him. Kraven is a good villain, and I think it's perfect that he has no relation to Peter, because 80% of the antagonists just happen to have a direct or indirect connection to him, which can make them feel quite repetitive. In contrast, Kraven has his own plot with justified motives and adds a lot to the story. He also complements Venom very well. And even though he has a similar ending to Mr. Negative, with his story concluding halfway through the game, his conclusion is much more interesting and visually appealing thanks to Venom, making him a solid villain with a clear beginning and end, no further complications. Harry eventually becomes Venom. While it feels a bit forced and less natural, it's not alarming or something that breaks the plot, and the character design is intimidating and imposing. He's a very good villain, but maybe they could have utilized him a bit better. What stands out in this game is the fact that we now control two Spider-Man, Peter and Miles. This adds an extra layer of depth, as we can now switch between them, each with their own abilities, missions, and subplots. It definitely adds a lot of variety, giving us two perspectives that greatly enhance the game. The story is good, and despite having very interesting, exciting, and action-packed moments like the first game, I feel that they could have done so much more with the Venom concept, and it could have had greater repercussions for the protagonists. I really liked Peter's personality change with the symbiote. It's very interesting to see him transform into a different person and start exhibiting rude behaviors. It's quite uncomfortable, but quite positive also. On the other hand, Miles' subplot with Martin Lee seemed very fitting and represents what Spider-Man is all about, also giving Martin a good redemption arc and interesting moments gameplay-wise. One aspect I really hated is that they minimize Peter a lot. They kill him, knock him out with one hit, and most of the time, it's Miles who ends up saving the day and Peter himself. This isn't inherently bad. I understand they want to establish Miles as a capable Spider-Man, but you don't have to make one character less to make the other one look better. My biggest problem is the non-Spider-Man sections. The game grinds to a halt too often with sections as civilians. They're not bad, but there are too many and it gets very frustrating and tiresome, especially when replaying the story mode. It's undoubtedly a problem that can be minimized and really affects the game's pacing. The ending is a bit disappointing. The conflict is solved, the good guys win, the bad guys lose, and the game ends. I mean, it's fine, but compared to the first game, we don't get anything new. If they had taken a few more risks with the plot, this second installment could have been so much more than the first one. But Spider-Man 1 feels a bit more structured and has more emotion, drama, and a slightly better story. So this first point goes to Spider-Man 1. Combat. The combat in Spider-Man 1 is very fun, frenetic, and you can feel the impact of the hits. The movement is fluid, and overall it's quite entertaining. It clearly takes inspiration from the Arkham games, which have a proven successful formula. In this aspect, everything is quite positive. It's fun to build big combos and avoid getting hit. Spider-Man's movements are visually appealing and the gadgets are useful enough to support you in combat without being overpowered. My only issue is that you have to manually switch between them using the weapon wheel, which pauses the combat and takes away its speed. There's also the stealth. It's quite fluid and intuitive. The problem is that I don't think it's that fun for Spider-Man to be stealthy in a game like this. The stealth is good, yes, it's fine, but it's not amazing. It doesn't stand out as much as the combat. And it's almost impossible not to compare it to the stealth in the Arkham games, which is infinitely better. I really liked that each suit has its own ability, and as you unlock them you can choose a different one, which incentivizes replayability and trying other suits. A very nice touch. In Spider-Man 2, the combat is slightly more fluid. However, in this game, we have more options at our disposal. More gadgets, more special moves, and combinations we can customize. The best part of this system is that we don't have to stop combat to activate gadgets or special moves. Now we do it with button combinations. A great decision in my opinion. The only problem with this is that from my perspective, it makes the combat too easy, allowing you to finish encounters in seconds. It's fun for the first few hours, but eventually it makes fights feel somewhat empty and repetitive, since they end so quickly and you're not on the edge of your seat like in the first game's combat. On the other hand, there's Peter's combat with the symbiote. Pretty fucking cool in my opinion. You feel the aggressiveness in the hits. The visual effects complement the feeling of power that the suit gives to Peter, and making it a super instead of a permanent feature was a good decision. It also makes the game easier, but in a more exciting way that serves the story, unlike the gadgets I mentioned previously. In conclusion, Spider-Man 1's combat is effective, fun, and keeps you focused at all times. Pulling off longer combos is harder, but also more satisfying. Meanwhile, Spider-Man 2's combat is more complete, more varied, has more animations, more button combinations, and is more intuitive and fluid than the first one. But unfortunately, it removes a lot of the excitement from combat sections due to the sheer number of gadgets and special moves. Therefore, even though it might sound a bit contradictory, this point goes to Spider-Man 1 for me. Traversal. The traversal in Spider-Man 1 is excellent. Back in the day, it was revolutionary because it perfected Spider-Man's movement in every aspect compared to older games. It feels fluid and natural. I don't want to say what everyone says, that you really feel like Spider-Man, but you do. The button controllers the developers chose are perfect. It's very intuitive, making it impossible for you to choose fast travel, because swinging through New York is stupidly fun. In Spider-Man 2, we have the same thing, but a lot better. There are new mechanics like the web wings that allow us to glide, and new moves that let us gain more height and speed. It feels 1,000 times more fluid. The tricks give the traversal a lot of personality and style. In Spider-Man 1, they were minimal, but now they're more than ever. There are new moves, more combinations, they feel more natural, and it's incredible that there's specific animation for each movement when you resume swinging from falling. This game is impeccable in this aspect, and there's no point of comparison. This point definitely goes to Spider-Man 2. Open World. The open world is great in both games. While the map in Spider-Man 1 is very effective, fun to explore, has the best side missions, and generally works very well, the open world in the second installment feels much more natural and more real. It's bigger, has more content, more interaction, more secrets, and the population density is higher, making the city feel more alive. Since we mentioned side missions, it's very hard to take the NPCs seriously. The citizens are often too artificial for my taste. They seem kinda cartoonish. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but regardless, I don't like it one bit. Everything is very family friendly, and for the tone Spider-Man 2's main story takes, I would have preferred the NPC's interactions to be a bit more realistic. In conclusion, the open world point goes to Spider-Man 2. Final verdict. And so, we reached the final verdict. 2 points for Spider-Man 1 and 2 points for Spider-Man 2, which results in a tie between both games. But what does this really mean? It means that both games are great. Of course, they have their flaws and things to improve, but in a way, there's a balance between them. One has strengths that the other one doesn't, and vice versa. Therefore, I hope this is perfected in the third installment, combining the best of both worlds. Without a doubt, these games have given me hundreds of hours of fun, incredible swinging, tears, and excitement. It's an incredible saga so far, and I can't wait to keep playing as Spider-Man in the future installments. But I'd love to know what you think about them and which one is your favorite. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe, as it motivates me to keep creating content for you. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and I prefer Spider-Man 1.